This is Shopify Masters, the e-commerce marketing podcast for ambitious entrepreneurs. It's powered by Shopify, the easiest way to sell online, in person, and anywhere in between. To get an extended 30-day trial, visit shopify.com/masters. Hey entrepreneurs, my name is Felix and I'm the host of the Shopify Masters podcast. Each week we put out podcast interviews with successful e-commerce entrepreneurs or experts to give you inspiration, motivation, and actionable tips to increase your traffic and sales so your store can generate the sales you need to live the life you want. In the last episode, Pierce Schiller from tardisc.com tells a story of how he made $200,000 in 6 months to pay for grad school, then hired a CEO to run his business, but ended up having to come back to save his business. On today's podcast, you'll learn from an entrepreneur that's building a personal brand and a business brand at the same time. In this episode, you'll learn how to outsource your content marketing, the difference between managing a team of interns versus a team of employees, and how to use Polyvore to drive traffic and sales to your store. Today, I'm joined by Candace Gallick from BikiniLux.com. Bikini Lux is your go-to shop for the cutest bikinis, cover-ups, and clothing to achieve the effortlessly put-together beach babe look. And was started in 2013 and based out of Miami Beach, Florida. Welcome, Candace.
Bikini Lux is known for selling, designer swimwear and kind of these amazing brands that you don't find at your local store. And a lot of what we sell is kind of higher end, like they're pieces that you would wear if you were going on vacation or if you were going away for a special occasion, like an anniversary, a bachelorette party, maybe just a girls' trip with all of your best friends, and that's kind of what we've been known for. And now as we've grown, we've expanded onto resort wear and clothing, activewear, lingerie, jewelry, accessories, the whole deal. So we're kind of a one-stop shop for all of your kind of luxury vacation needs.
Very cool. So how did you get started in this? Did you have a background in this kind of industry?
I started Bikini Lux with my knowledge of sales and customer service and just kind of the swimwear industry in general. Living in Miami, I had a lot of opportunities to not only model within the industry, but also create relationships with people who had their own lines, whether they were the designers, the owners, the founders of companies. And those people early on gave me opportunities to really sell and represent their brand as a newcomer. Because they believed in my ability, and when I said, "Hey, listen, I know this is new and this is different for me, but I'm going to sell somewhere online," a few people stood up and said, like, "Yeah, let's do it, and here's my brand, and just go with the flow," and it turned out really well.
Very cool. So, did you have experience launching any other business in the past, or was this your very first entrepreneurial pursuit?
Bikini Lux is my first child. I've put a lot of time and energy and love and sweat into Bikini Lux. I didn't have any real experience in kind of growing an e-commerce store or platform before that. So it was definitely a steep learning curve.
Yeah. So what kind of preparation did you have to do before, opening the store? Did you have to, you mentioned there's a steep learning curve. What was involved in that? Like for someone that's just brand new, because I think there's a lot of listeners out there then that similar situation where they are working on their very first entrepreneurial pursuit, is their first store, first company, first brand, first business. And they're facing the same issues that you probably face, which is that it's very daunting. There's just so much to learn, so much you don't know, and so much that you don't know that you don't know. So, like, how did you prepare for all of it?
That's true. I feel like even now, a few years in, I'm still learning something new every single day. There's always something like a new app, a new program, a new algorithm. It's literally, it just never ends. So starting out, I did what a lot of people do. I took to Google, and every single question that I had, I Googled it, and I watched tutorials, and I read interviews and articles and Q&As, and any knowledge that I could soak up early on, I took advantage of it. I asked people for advice. The few connections that I had in the industry, I asked them for their opinion. And a lot of them were on the opposite end of the spectrum that I am, whereas I'm a retailer, and a lot of the brands that I knew starting out were the people who were selling wholesale to retailers. So the advice that they had wasn't exactly what I needed, but it gave me a little bit of insight and led me in the right direction. So I would say for people who are just starting out, just asking questions. Every question you have, just ask it, Google it, watch a tutorial. Everyone has been in your shoes before, and there are plenty of people out there who are looking to enlighten others on the process.
Yeah, and what do you think was the most important skill for you to learn as a beginner?
Probably time management. I decided that this was the career that I wanted to have for the majority of my life. I dropped everything and I said, what I want to do is I want to sell swimwear online, and I want to have my own company. But when you're just starting out and you're learning everything, really managing time and figuring out where you need to focus. Like, it may not be something that you like the most that you need to focus on. You know, like, do I enjoy going out and meeting new brands and shopping for new brands and learning the trends? Yes. But is my time best spent there? Probably not. It's probably best spent learning marketing and advertising and SEO and all those random things that go into it.
So were you, when you were first starting this out back in 2013, 2014, were you doing this full time, or were you still, was it something that was just being done on the side at first?
At first, it was something that was being done on the side. I continued to hold a full-time or a part-time job to pay the bills, which, you know, is necessary when you're starting out. And then, you know, luckily for me, my hard work really, it paid off early on, and we started trending online pretty quickly. And, you know, back to the time management aspect, at that point I realized, you know, this is my opportunity and I need to focus on growing my personal brand. So I quit everything and started focusing entirely day and night on building the brand. And luckily it's done well thus far.
So while you were doing this, essentially part-time, you had something else going on. I think, again, a very similar situation for a lot of listeners out there. They have a full-time job or part-time job or something else, like what you're saying, to pay the bills while they were building this on the side. I can see why time management becomes so important in that case, because not only do you don't have that much time, but you don't have as much energy either, because your time and energy is wrapped up in, you know, something else is a big chunk of your day, and whatever's left over is what you use to devote to building something that probably takes even more effort. So tell us a bit more about your time management then. How did you said something very important, which was that you really had to understand what was important. Everything might sound interesting and fun to do, and it might still be related to your business, but it might not have been the best thing for you to focus your time on. So tell us about how you kind of evaluate this. How did you learn, or how do you evaluate what's the best use of your time?
I think that a lot of it is trial and error. You know, you can't excel at everything. And that is something that I learned, was that I might be, I don't want to say I'm a hoarder. What is that word that I'm looking for? I'm the person who wants to put everything on my plate. I want to do everything myself because I want it to be done right, and I want it to be done when I want it done. And I've always been that person. And what I learned was that you can't do everything on your own. There's just not enough time in the day, and you're not going to do it well. So I started outsourcing as much as I could to other people and leveraging their expertise. And almost, you know, I became a manager early on, just by outsourcing work and utilizing private contractors and whatever it may be. You know, if you don't understand AdWords, like, maybe you need to find someone who has a really good understanding of AdWords. If you don't understand or just really, really suck at editing photos and creating like good quality content, then maybe you need to find someone who can do that for you. And I know that a lot of that comes with a larger budget, but there are definitely ways that you can get it done without taking on investment. It's totally possible, and I did it, and it was great because it did free up a lot of time for me to focus on the things that I was good at and that I did enjoy.
Yeah, I think this is important to talk about a little bit more about how to find help and how to outsource and how to delegate so that you're not, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs want to be the hero of their company, right? They want to do everything like you're saying. They want to, I think it's kind of a gift and a curse of being an entrepreneur where you're so ambitious and you are so optimistic about everything that you think you can take all of it on. And a lot of times people don't find out that they can't do that until they kind of crash and burn out, which is definitely not a spot you want to be at. So you want to be able to nip that in the bud early and recognize what you're good at and then outsource the rest. So let's talk about outsourcing a bit. How did you, well, first of all, what were some of the things, you mentioned AdWords and photos at first. Were there other things that you knew you wanted to outsource right away?
Yeah, so I think that a lot of what comes with maintaining kind of an online presence these days is creating content, and a lot of it, and that may be articles, it may be photos or videos or whatever it is that is kind of tied into your business, but using virtual assistants to kind of create that content, and it frees you up to kind of do the more important things. Like, do I need to spend my time writing an article about the 5 best SPFs for the summer? No, I don't. But is it potentially going to lead people to my website? Yes. So, I'm going to outsource that and have someone else write it really quickly and throw it up and get it done. What I struggled with was that I was obsessed with micromanaging every aspect of my website and the way that the banner looked, and this portion looks this way, and I'm not a Photoshop expert by any means, so that actually consumed a lot of my time. But by outsourcing it and giving it to someone who quickly can maneuver around Photoshop and add a few lines of text and get rid of a pimple here and a smudge there, it really freed up time and allowed us to be more productive.
Makes sense. So I think content marketing, like you're saying, with writing articles and everything, it's talked about so much in the industry. I think it was probably one of the more popular methods for marketing over the last couple of years, and it probably still is really a popular method. But like you're saying, it's not for everybody, right? Not everybody likes sitting down and cranking out 500, 1,000, 1,500 word articles every single day. And if you don't like that, like I was saying before, you have to outsource. You have to get someone else to do it. Otherwise, you're going to burn out and the entire thing's going to essentially fall apart. So when it comes to content marketing itself, for anyone out there that is also in similar shoes as you, which you don't like doing content marketing, or maybe you're better off using your time elsewhere, how did you find people to write these articles, and what kind of direction do you give them when you hire someone to write articles for you?
Well, a lot of the ideas are very well thought out. It's not just, well, today I feel like writing about homemade leave-in conditioner for hair after you go to the beach. Like, it's everything that's kind of tied into the business, right? Like, you want everything to be related. So something that we did was we used BuzzSumo to kind of see what kind of terms were related to our niche, and we took those and then kind of decided that they were something that we should be writing about. And I would have virtual assistants. You can find virtual assistants online. I like Indeed.com for employees and such like that. But using apps where their main focus is literally this one thing to help you build your business and help you do it better, really did make things easier. Off the top of my head, do I know every single term that people are searching for that's going to lead them back to my website and actually turn into a buying customer? No, I don't. But there are tons of people who have the data that can back that up.
So BuzzSumo, I think that's another really popular app for content marketing. I've used it myself. In your case, you were using it to research the kinds of articles and blog posts that were written based on the keywords you're searching, or how are you using BuzzSumo?
Pretty much, but it's more or less just the terms that people are looking for that are related um, to like trends and the industry that we're in.
Okay, so let's say you discovered the certain terms or phrases that people are searching for a lot. You would then, hire somebody on Indeed, or hopefully you already had somebody hired to start writing. And would you how much guidance do you need to give someone that you outsource this kind of content to?
Well, that ranges, right? Like we have a number of writers, and everyone is of different skill sets. Um, and some don't require any real direction at all. You say, "Hey, listen, I want to write an article about designer swimwear in 2017," and they just know, they just get it. Other people you hire or are part of your team may or may not, just be that creative. You might have to give them more direction. You might need to say, "Hey, listen, I want you to write an article about the 5 best brands of 2017 in the swimwear world. And these are the brands I want you to focus on." Like, some people you need to give more direction to, but as a manager and as a leader, you kind of need to understand that and understand your employees' strengths and weaknesses.
And how important do you find is it to find find a writer that has already written on this topic? Is that important, or do you find that most writers can figure it out even if they haven't written in that industry or on that topic before?
No, I don't think they have to have written about that topic before. I think that a lot of people who do write are very creative. And I'm not saying you should take on maybe a political writer and ask them to write about fashion, because they just may not be motivated to do that. But we've definitely taken on interns before who had no experience in writing and have been able to churn out really well thought informational articles that are related to our industry. And honestly, it's kind of surprising in a good way when you see that and they realize that they have a talent that they didn't even know they had. And that's really exciting to kind of bring that out of someone.
Cool. So when you mentioned earlier about how it doesn't have to be a cash intensive, activity to outsource things like writing. Is it by finding interns? Like how have you been able to, not require large investments to outsource a good portion of the content marketing or just the marketing in general?
Well, we've definitely grown over the years. Early on, we just worked literally all day and all night. I did myself. My team worked long hours. Luckily, this year we've been able to take on more interns, which it comes with a cost or a price, right? Like I assumed early on, I was like, we're going to bring in these interns and we're going to teach them so much stuff and it's going to be great and we're going to be so productive. And our employees were like, great, we have all these interns. They're going to do all the stuff I don't want to do. And that's kind of funny because now we all started focusing on teaching these interns because I know that a lot of people kind of bring them on and just give them busy work and they're just happy and that's what they expect. But I don't want someone to come to our team unless they genuinely want to be there and they want to be a part of the family and they have fun coming to work every day. So it actually takes a lot of time and energy to teach these people real skills. Like I've gotten so many who have done internships before and I feel like they just didn't learn anything while they were there. And I think that's sad. And I think it's a waste of time for them and for the person that they were working for. So I guess to answer your question, we do have interns. We have way more employees now than we've ever had. We have freelance writers and all sorts of different people all over the world that are helping us create content and manage the customer experience and create backlinks and all this stuff. So just hard work and building a team that believes in what they're doing.
Yeah, I think others have considered going down this route too, of bringing on interns, but also having employees, full-time employees, or even contractors. What do you find different that's about managing interns versus an employee?
I think that it's different because I think that our employees know a little bit of what is expected of them on a daily basis. They kind of think freely and they say, hey, I have these things to do today, but I also have these other creative ways where I need to think of an interesting way to reach out to the local community. And I think that the interns are more their tasks are more delegated to them. It's like, hey, we have these 5 brands, we got to hurry up and do XYZ before this date. Like, go, go, go. But we've been able to kind of manage everything and keep everyone on the same page by using Basecamp, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard of. But it was really nice for us to be able to kind of chat with each other and without yelling across the room or across the office, kind of just message each other and make sure that everyone has the same idea in mind. And it's especially great for the people who we're communicating with overseas or all over the world, because they're at different time zones, and now you just message them and everyone knows what's going on.
Yeah, and I think the one thing you said about interns is also interesting and important, which is that it's easy to just kind of give them the busy work, the stuff that you don't want to do, kind of hand it off to them. But like you're saying, you want to make sure that the interns are also enjoying what they're doing, or employees as well, but even more so, I think with interns, they're enjoying what they're doing and that they're learning. So I think a lot of times that's what they're looking for the most. They want to come to a place to learn and, of course, also enjoy their time there. How do you make sure that this happens, though? Because like you're saying, it's really easy to slip down this road. Maybe not you directly, but then the people that report into you might slip down this road of just delegating the stuff that they're not interested in and kind of, tossing it over the wall, so to speak, and not really teaching. How do you make sure that doesn't happen?
That is a good question, and I think that our team is different, and in that our office is very casual. We have a great time at work. We have barbecues. There's people coming in and out all throughout the day, and it's very, I don't know how to say it. I want to say that it's like that fun office that you go to and everyone's like sharing food and like making coffee and, hey, I'm making coffee, you want one? Like, it's like very fun and casual, which I think keeps the morale high and keeps people productive. I've never wanted to be that boss that comes in and everyone's like terrified and they're like, she's here, everyone like batten down the hatches.
Yeah.
And I think that keeps it fun. And also I think that e-commerce is a different industry in that there's so much that goes into it. We have photo shoots on the beach and, hey girls, like, let's send a few people out to this photo shoot. No, there's an event over here at this hotel and we're doing a pop-up over there. So there's a lot of kind of just fun things to do that the people who work for us who are interested in fashion and in sales and the swimwear industry in general, just they get to go on all these fun field trips almost, and kind of experience it. And when we have swim week and all those fun events, it's like, hey, who wants to go to this event? Okay, no, not everyone can go.
Yeah, I think what it boils down to then, based on what you're saying, is that you can't force somebody that's not already interested in the company, interested in the industry, interested in the category to come in and enjoy it. If you just go out and with the intention of finding interns, finding employees that are already interested in all of these things, it makes it a lot easier to kind of cultivate that culture at your company in your offices than if you weren't that selective to begin with. So I think that's the answer to what you're getting at, is that be selective with the interns or be selective with the employees, and that this makes it way easier to create a fun place to work at it and a fun place to learn as well. So you mentioned a little bit earlier about how you're able to get traction pretty quickly. You're able to get those first sales. You were trending online. Tell us a little bit more about that. Like, what do you credit that to? Like, how were you able to get that early traction?
Pretty sure that early on we focused a lot on shopping websites, because we were so new. We didn't have the the organic traffic that we were looking for early on, right? That only comes with time and with effort. So we kind of utilize the different platforms that women, teenagers, men, everyone kind of goes to shop. And they have this database of customers who are ready to buy. And you put your products on, and people just come and buy them. They don't care really if you're brand new. They don't care if you've been around for 20 years. They see an image and they want to buy it. So let's say Pinterest, for example. Currently, we get around 2 million impressions a month on our Pinterest page. But starting out, we did see some sales from there because people saw an image they liked and they wanted to buy it, and they weren't afraid of buying from Bikini Luxe when it was brand new. So there's all these different platforms out there that can help new businesses build a customer base, and it's great because it's very much needed early on when you're literally just floating in cyberspace and nobody knows that you exist.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. You want to find places, marketplaces, social media platforms that already have your audience, your potential customers, and just get in front of them that way. Because one, it's usually free, and then two, these audience members, these customers already are collecting around this place, so you don't have to go around searching for them. So you mentioned Pinterest. Are there any other marketplaces or social media platforms that you recommend, especially for brands and companies in the apparel space?
Yeah, there are tons right now. I like Polyvore. Some people don't love Polyvore, or they're just not into it yet. But I like Polyvore because it allows people to create sets and different things, and they can utilize your products and share them with people really quickly and easily. And we've done lots of contests on there, and I like it because your products pretty much, they just go, you put them on there and people just start using them in sets. And you can create contests that say, hey, listen, use 3 of our products in a set and share it to win a pair of sunglasses or whatever it is. And the people on there are really interactive and they're really creative, and they do create content for you. And you can even use some of those set images to kind of reach new people as well.
Yeah, so for anyone out there that might not be familiar with Polyvore, can you explain how it works for users, and then also how brands and retailers like you use Polyvore?
Yeah, so you upload your products, and users can share the products, or they can collect them almost into their own groups, like very much like Pinterest and all these other websites where they see something, they like it, they want to keep it. Some people want to purchase them, so you're able to purchase directly from the website. And a lot of them are creative types, and they use them to make collages or what they call sets. And that's really cool because they can create so many different styles, and maybe something that you would create, a lot of people may not be interested in, but if the really creative girl who has, I don't know, a few thousand followers creates something using your product, then now it's shared to all of her followers. So it kind of just creates brand awareness, and it can definitely lead to sales.
Yeah, you mentioned that there might be users on there that, I guess, power users, people with followers on there. Can you work with influencers on Polyvore? Have you gone down that avenue?
We have, yes. We still do. We reach out to some of the people who are active on there. But, I think that a lot of it just happens naturally. And I think that everyone is so tied up with influencers and, oh, you know what, I'm only going to work with someone if they have 500,000 followers because that's going to be what is going to turn out to be the best amount of sales. But that's not always true. We've worked with girls who have had 700 followers and have amassed way more sales than a girl with 500,000 has. So it just ties into their customer base or their following, and if it's really targeted to what you're selling.
And you mentioned before that others might not be interested in Polyvore. Are there any negatives that you found with being on Polyvore or spending the time on Polyvore?
I mean, it's for fashion. So if you're selling car parts, I probably wouldn't recommend it. It's definitely it's it's definitely fashion forward, if that's what you want to say. I haven't really found a negative. I think that every platform comes with its pros and cons, and I don't think that anyone should spend all of their time doing just one thing. I think that it's really important to be well-rounded, and you need to be on Facebook, you need to be on Pinterest, Polyvore, Instagram, you need to be on Twitter, you need to kind of access everything, and that's where it can become overwhelming, and you could potentially spread yourself too thin. But if you focus on something and you see that something is doing really well, then maybe spend more energy there and less time at something that's not performing as well for you. Like we have a lot of really great imagery because the majority of our shoots are on the beach with a beautiful model and great hair and makeup and Photoshop and all this fun stuff going on. So it's a really image heavy kind of industry. So e-commerce works really well for us in that regard.
Very cool. So speaking of social media, one thing you mentioned in the pre-interview questions was about a marketing, I guess, tactic that works well for you, which is to create innovative and disruptive social media posts that draw engagement. So can you talk a little bit more about this? Like, what do you mean by these, I guess, innovative and disruptive social media posts?
Well, I think that now more than ever, it's difficult to stand out online, right? Like, everyone has an account on every single platform, and everyone is posting multiple times a day to try to get your attention. And as customers, we're all customers, we're being sold to nonstop. Like there's advertisements, there's pop-ups, you get followed around, the radio's talking to you, the TV's talking to you, your phone you got a text from some sales thing, and you're just always being sold to. So I think that a company, to stand out and to do well, needs to be authentic, but I also think that it should have a personality. And one way that we've kind of shown our personality online was early on. I decided that I should be a part of LinkedIn because LinkedIn meant that you were a professional person, right? And I was like, I don't think people really view me as being like the CEO of a company. I should have a more professional profile. So I started LinkedIn, and I started posting the same stuff that I did on any of our other platforms, on Pinterest, on Polyvore, on Facebook. And I started posting the same campaign images of beautiful women on a tropical beach wearing swimwear. And it was just different for LinkedIn at the time to see something like that. Like, it is a professional networking website, but I'm a professional and swimwear is my business. So here's my stuff. This is what I have. And a lot of people were surprised by that. They didn't expect to see that on LinkedIn, and it created a huge controversy, which was, two different groups of people. There are the people who said, this does not belong on LinkedIn at all. This is not professional. And there were the people that said, hey, listen, she's a business owner. Swimwear is her business. It definitely belongs here. So creating that content and putting it on that platform was controversial, and it was fun, and it was exciting, and it brought us a lot of attention. And I think that's what I mean by kind of creating content that is innovative. In that you may not even know you're doing it when you do it at first, and people see something that they didn't expect, and it's almost guerrilla style marketing, and that's kind of how that happened, and it led to opportunities that were unexpected for me as well.
Yeah, I think the kind of key point there is that you don't always have to just do things because you see other brands doing it. And you should actually start, asking, where can you be? What can you do that is different? Maybe even the complete opposite of what you've seen successful retailers, successful brands, other successful companies doing, because that's usually the only way to stand out. You're going to fit right in and kind of fade into the background if you are just like everybody else. And when you mentioned earlier too about how I think you were saying early on you were able to focus on building your personal brand. Is that something that you focused on a lot too? Other than just Bikini Lux, are you also focused on building, your personal brand as Candace?
Yeah, so with LinkedIn brought attention and it brought a lot of opportunities. I didn't expect it to go viral. I didn't expect to amass 50,000 followers on LinkedIn or to be the most viewed person on the entire website for a long period of time or to get more traction than like Richard Branson does. Like, who am I compared to Richard Branson? Let's be real. But it was happening. And what you said a little bit is don't always do what everyone else tells you to do. Not everyone, a lot of people in the beginning of the whole LinkedIn controversy said, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. Don't post advertisements like this on LinkedIn. It's never going to get you anywhere. You're talking to a brick wall over here. You're never going to see any sales from it. And what happened was, we actually saw a 30% increase in business, far exceeding our expectations or our projections. And we amassed a much larger male clientele than we had previously. So don't listen to what everyone says. Sometimes, you need to do the exact opposite almost. But with LinkedIn came opportunities that I didn't have previously. So we ended up in all sorts of different publications. Huffington Post, we were in Inc., we were in BBC, Fox News, Forbes. We've been in Forbes 5 times in 2016 so far. And I've made connections that I never expected to make. And with all of that allowed me to build my personal brand, which is something that I never even thought of before starting Bikini Lux. I never thought that Candace Bellick would be a brand or that it should be. And now I have my own column for Inc., which is great because I used to buy Inc. magazine and now I write for it. Like, how cool is that? And I'm kind of dabbling in consulting and teaching people the ins and outs of what I went through step by step, building my business from the ground up as a bootstrapped young female entrepreneur. I'm really focusing on that because I see potential there beyond Bikini Lux. And like I said, not putting all of your eggs in one basket. I don't want my only company to be Bikini Lux. I want there to be other aspects of it. So building myself as a brand has been a nice change of pace. But it's definitely hard to manage time now when I have 2 separate brands.
I bet. And what do you find that's different about building a personal brand versus building a company's brand?
I thought that I was crazy about every single thing that I posted before and micromanaging everything before when it was Bikini Lux. And now that I'm dealing with myself, I feel like I'm trying to put, best foot forward and always come off as professional and presentable. And that's difficult. And also, knowing what people want. Like, yes, I know a little bit about going viral on LinkedIn, but I know a little bit about creating my business also. So kind of figuring out what people want to hear is important, I think. And, what's really cool about it, I think, is with LinkedIn, I've been able to learn so much more because I can do A/B testing and figure out what people do want to see and what they do want to hear about. So I can ask a question like, do you like A or B? Which would you rather? Like, do you like the photo on the left or the right? Do you like the lifestyle image or do you like the plain white background? And I get a lot of feedback, probably the most engagement of any platform. It's been really great to kind of get that insight and kind of feedback from people that I didn't have before.
Yeah, I can imagine that you probably feel a little bit more under the microscope now that you have a personal brand, because even though your name is tied to your company, Bikini Lux, or anyone else out there has a company, there you're not anonymous, but you could separate yourself from your company's brand. But then when it's your personal brand, you can't just step away from it. So what you say, like you're saying, what you post on social media, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Twitter, it is your history. It's kind of your history of everything that represents you as your personal brand. So I can definitely understand the added pressure of having a personal brand. So for any entrepreneur out there, I think a lot of entrepreneurs that have seen success, they do want to give back, and they do want to talk more about what they've learned. Which is why a lot of the guests come on this podcast. How do you recommend others begin down this path if they are thinking about focusing a little bit more time on building a personal brand?
Well, I think that a lot of it comes with time. If you wake up one day and you say, you know what, I'm going to make myself a personal brand, it's probably not going to work. Why? Because if no one's interested in what you have to say, it's going to be really difficult to force feed it to them. So early on, people probably didn't want my advice when I first started. They would be like, who are you? Why should I talk to you? Why would I want to know your opinion? When people believe in you, and when they understand what you're doing, and they say, hey, listen, she's been there and done it before, I've seen it with my own eyes, they might be more interested. So building your own brand, I think it's vital to start with a base of people who are truly interested in that brand to begin with. It's difficult, to get started in kind of creating something, especially if you don't know what you're creating. Like if you want to say, hey, I'm great at pottery, you should listen to me. No one's going to care unless they believe you're good at pottery as well, So I don't know. I don't believe really that everyone should be their own personal brand. And even me, I'm still trying to figure it out. There's been things like, hey, Candace, do you want to sell Tupperware? Let's name a cosmetics line after you. Let's do this other thing. And I'm just like, why Tupperware? No. I'm not Martha Stewart. A cosmetics line? Like, no, I don't talk about cosmetics ever. Why would I have a cosmetics line?
Mm-hmm.
And my followers don't care about makeup. Like, really? So you have to make it really targeted to what you are good at and what you also want to wake up and do every single day. Like if you don't want to do pottery every day, and it's just not going to work.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult though, right? Because you're saying that one of the key kind of focuses, one of the key things you try to focus on today is to pay attention to what people are asking from you. And that's kind of how you guys started with your personal brand, because people became more interested in your business and how you grew your business, how you started your business, and they wanted to learn more about that. But then all of a sudden, once you kind of are more in the limelight, have more publicity, more and more opportunities get thrown your way. And a lot of times, like you're saying, they're not a good fit, but they're still kind of demanding or kind of asking these things from you. So how do you filter that? Like, how do you understand, okay, this is something I wanted to pursue versus something that I don't want to pursue, when it's actually something that people are asking from you, just like when they were asking for you to talk more about your business or talk more about entrepreneurship?
Well, I think that it goes back to not spreading yourself too thin, right? So you may have an opportunity to do something, but does it make sense, first of all, for you to do that? Do you have the time to commit to it? Maybe not. Is it something that you do want to do or that you benefit from? I mean, let's face it, at the end of the day, the reason why you're doing what you're doing is either because you just love it so much and you're so passionate about it, or you're turning a profit, or you have some other motive. Let's say you're doing it all and you're donating everything to charity. Like, no matter what, you need to figure out why you're doing something and what you want out of it. So like I said about cosmetics, like, do I wear makeup? Yes. Do I necessarily need a Candace Gallic makeup line? No, because you know what? No one's going to buy it. It has to make sense. And I know that it gets exciting early on when people want to offer you things and want to be a part of stuff. But you really need to manage time and focus on what you're good at. And if someone says, hey, you know what, I like what you're doing, and let's write a book, and I'm gonna invest in it, and you're gonna write the whole book. Like, is that really going to be the best use of your time? Like, maybe not, So I think that whatever options or opportunities are thrown your way, I think that it's a great idea to weigh out the pros and cons. It's something I do. I'm a list maker, and figure out if it's worth your time and energy.
Very cool. So I think one thing that you mentioned was you have to really understand why you're doing it. And it's funny because you actually have an article in Inc. with, I think, a Q&A with Simon Sinek, who talks about this idea of always asking why before you begin anything else. And when you start thinking about why you're doing something, do you how do you answer that? How do you know that? And this may be more philosophical question than anything, but how do you know that you actually have a legitimate reason to pursue something or not? Because I think there's a fine line that a lot of entrepreneurs, not a fine line, but I think there's a gray area that a lot of entrepreneurs fall into, which is that, like you're saying, someone presents them an opportunity and it kind of fits with what they're into, kind of fits with their skill set, but it might not be a perfect fit. Is that enough of a reason to try and pursue it? Like, how do you know if you actually have discovered the why of why you're doing something?
That's a great question. I asked Simon that same thing.
Nice.
So, I don't know all of the answers, but I do know one thing. When I'm thinking about something and when I'm deciding on doing something or not, I trust my gut. If it feels right, it feels right. If it feels a little funny, like, you know what, like I just don't know. I don't know if I can swing it. I don't know if I'm trying to manage Bikini Lux and Candace Gallic and I've got 20 other things to do, and now you want me to do this other thing, like, that's kind of related. Like, it just goes back to deciding if it's something that you want to do. Like, are you going to enjoy it? Yes or no? Are you going to see any results from it? Yes or no? Are you passionate about it? Are you going to want to do it every single day and be thrilled to be doing it? Because a lot of being an entrepreneur or a business owner or any of these things really, really, really ties into being driven and passionate and trying to keep a happy face even when you're in the red. Like, let's say you just had a terrible month and you're just like, God, this is just not going well. I worked my butt off and I'm just losing money and it's just not working. You have to enjoy what you're doing to keep it going and to see the numbers jump back up again. So I don't know. I don't know how to figure out if everything is right, or how to find your why. I mean, I tried to get Simon to best explain to me how to find my why, and I don't know. It's hard, but you'll figure it out. Everyone does in their own time, I believe.
Yeah, I think we knew the answer to that. I think a lot of people will be much happier, I think, because it's a struggle that everyone goes through, right? It's like a process, like you're saying. It's a journey that you have to go through to discover the why. There's no kind of one way to sit down and just think about it and all of a sudden come to an answer. It's you try things and you get better at understanding what fits with what you're doing, what doesn't, and then you kind of build this intuition, I guess, over time, and you'll have a better understanding of what will actually, fire you up, like you're saying.
I agree. Actually, I have one other thing, Felix, is that actually it got sparked from that conversation with Simon about why. And I was like, how do I have this interest in being more charitable. Like, how do I do this? Like, what is my why? And he says, I can't tell you what your why is. You got to figure it out yourself, girlfriend. And I was like, all right. I was like, well, you know what? Like, a lot of the brands that I carry and that I choose for Bikini Lux all have these really strong brand missions. And it's something that I've always wanted for my business. I didn't want it to just be an income producing opportunity. I wanted it to do some good. And what happens is all the brands that we choose that go into Bikini Lux, they're all working in their own way to better the community. We have a brand of jewelry and they only employ women in the community that are facing hardship or homelessness or whatever it may be, and they teach them these skills of how to make jewelry, and they provide them with living wages so these people can get back on their feet. Or, you buy a yoga mat and we plant a tree. Or there's another one where they employ single mothers and they hand make these really intricate crochet and like beaded swimwear. So like every single brand that we choose, they all have their own mission and they're all doing good. And it was funny because I was picking them and I didn't even really realize it. I didn't ever sit down and say, hey, I'm only picking brands that have this amazing eco-conscious mission, right? And then I kind of just realized it later on. I was like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're doing good and we're not even talking about it. We're not even telling anyone about it. No one even realizes it's happening, but that's what we're doing and that's our why. So that's really, really fun and exciting. And I think that every brand should have maybe a why or it should have some sort of mission. I don't think that it's fair to run a business and just collect money and call it a day.
Yeah, definitely. So what are your plans? Where do you want to see Bikini Luxe go in the next year or so?
Well, considering Bikini Luxe has far exceeded my expectations from the start, I didn't know until recently where I wanted to go. And I realized that the two-piece swimwear industry is an $8 billion industry in the U.S. alone. And I think worldwide it's something like $13 billion globally, with projections that it's going to be around $22 billion by the year 2020. So my goal now is to just take over a small percentage of that. I just want to be the online destination for designer swimwear and resort wear and all the fun stuff that goes into buying swimwear online. That's my short-term goal.
That's a very lofty goal. So I hope, best of luck to get there. So, thanks again so much for your time, Candace. BikiniLuxe.com, BikiniLuxe.com. Anywhere else you recommend our listeners check out if they want to follow along with what you're up to?
Definitely check out Instagram at Bikini Luxe. All of our different platforms, social media is all at Bikini Luxe. You can find us there. Check out all the cool customer photos, all the cool places we're going, all the beautiful models we're shooting. That's where we are. LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff.
Awesome. Thanks so much again, Candace.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Shopify Masters, the e-commerce marketing podcast for ambitious entrepreneurs. To start your store today, visit shopify.com/masters to claim your extended 30-day free trial.